Welcome back to Big Brave Business. I'm your host, Sarah K. Heater. Big Brave Business is a podcast where we challenge the status quo of traditional business practices. So if you're ready to challenge norms, rewrite the rules, and redefine what it means to lead with courage and integrity, then grab a notebook and let's dive in. Welcome back to the Big Brave Business Podcast. I'm here with a guest today. I know every week I say I'm excited, but the reason I'm excited this time is because Jordan Gill from System Saved Me is someone that I have followed online for a little while. I don't even really know how long. And I just have to tell this quick story first, and then I'll do an actual introduction, which is that, I have followed you for a while. I've liked you for a while. And then recently, you had an event in person in Dallas, and my brother lives in Dallas. I like going to Dallas, but I somehow actually did not know that this event was happening. I did not know it existed. And that just goes to show you guys, people who follow you do not see your posts. But a bunch of other people that I am friends with online apparently did see posts about it because they went. So the way I found out that it was happening is that a bunch of people, other people that I'm friends with and follow, were all posting that they were on their way to this event that I totally would have gone to if I knew it was happening. So I had total freaking FOMO. And and it seems like it was awesome. The people I know who went had a really, really great time. So I have just been jealous, and I decided the way that I wanted to get back at all of them is to have you on my podcast. But anyways, welcome Jordan Gill of System Saved Me. Jordan is an automation expert, a business mentor, a content creator, and the podcast host of the podcast System Saved Me, which is in the top 1.5% of podcasts worldwide. So welcome to the podcast, Jordan. I'm so happy you're here.
Oh, thanks, Sarah. I'm so glad to be here. Yeah, it was a really great event. Would have obviously been better if you had been there, but we will cross paths on the events path for sure. So
Yes, 2025, it's happening. I am super interested in our topic today because you and I were just chatting before. We chatted a lot before we hit record, and we're gonna double click on this idea of being brave in business and really what that looks. But you specifically wanted to talk about innovation, so let's just start there. You said to me what innovation actually is. So is there a misconception about what innovation is?
I think there is. People think that innovation is huge, right? Because the only people talking about innovation are these mega tech spaces where it's innovation or die. And it's okay. We don't need, that's intense. But really, all innovation is just figuring out, again, a new method or a new idea or a new project. That's really all it is. It's a very simple, light situation. And so I think that, especially when it feels like things that weren't working are no longer working. Again, then when you hear the word innovate, it's, oh, I got to do either the complete opposite of what I was doing, or I have to go into a completely new industry, and again, it a lot of times doesn't take all of that. Like when I think about the companies that are innovating and doing things differently are a lot of times just tweaking a little something. It's usually a tweak or a slight pivot or an upgrade or downgrade from where they already were versus, again, just flipping things on their head. And so I think that the brave thing and what we think of being courageous in business is to take the step to innovate and not be afraid of it and not feel like it has to be this big giant project, but really it can be just that next iteration of what you're already doing, which doesn't have to be, again, a huge new step. It could be a difference of, okay, we were doing it virtual and now we're doing it in person, or it could be we were doing, for example, this is the era that I think we're in right now and I'm speaking on behalf of online marketing industry. That's my background. I think that we are very much in the templates and even tools era. So I think we started out with teaching as the main era, right? Courses, programs, curriculum. And then we've moved into the template era where everybody and their mom had a template shop, right? And that was really great and still is. And now people are like, okay, yeah, I have the template, but how many templates do I have in my Google Drive?
Mhm.
What can be done for me? And with AI coming into the space, for better or for worse, there's so many more expectations now of people finding tools that can do things for them. And again, for better or for worse, I think that is allowing a lot more creativity to come out of this space because it's not just knowledge, because now ChatGPT can give us a lot of knowledge, not frameworks or not those sorts of things, but just knowledge. And so now it's causing a lot of people to think, okay, again, if I have knowledge and I have a framework, how can that framework be put into something automated that then it can produce without me? Because let's be real, a lot of us have burned out, including myself, through this whole like past 4 years. And so our business needs to look different and not be as attached to us and whatever life is throwing our way. And so I find that creating a tool based on the work that you're doing is the way of the future, and not in the sense of you have to become a big SaaS company, because I'm that's not what I'm talking about, but just really truly thinking, okay, this is my expertise, this is my framework. How can I create an automated way to deliver to my clients and either get monthly recurring revenue or annual recurring revenue for their use of it? And I'm not involved at all. So that's my little soapbox about innovation.
Yeah, okay. I think there's a lot of directions to dig into from there. And
Yeah.
I am super interested in considering that question that you just posed at the end of how could I create that in my business? What could that look like? And yeah, I definitely want to like noodle on that. But I want to ask you, in your opinion, do you think innovation is more accurately being creative in your business slash finding creative solutions in your business? Or do you think innovation is more about understanding like industry trends and seeing and predicting what's up and coming? What's a more important kind of description of innovation?
Mm. Hmm. I think it can be a little bit of both. And so I'm going to share anecdotes of both. So, for example, my one way that I'm innovating is I am creating micro tools. One that I am in the midst of building and is coming out very soon is a tool called List, and it's very much what the name describes, but it's essentially where you can create lists of people that you want to follow that again either could be past clients or past podcast guests that you want to engage on their content and stay top of mind with. There's no way to really do that in Instagram in an easy way right now. And so obviously I'm creating that for myself. And then I was like, maybe other people would want to do it. And turns out they did because we had, gosh, I think 130 or 150 beta people who paid me like 297 to make it. With that example, that had way more to do with me and my needs and then putting it out there into the world where again, I saw a gap where my problem was not being solved, which was I want to engage with who I want to engage with. When I'm scrolling on Instagram, I'm seeing all these people I don't care about or that I'm not following or whatever the case is, and that's annoying. I liked Instagram when I got to see the people I wanted to see and I got to engage with them and know what was going on in their world. Similar to what you expressed just earlier about not knowing about my event, it's that's the algorithm for you. So imagine being able to stay top of mind with past podcast guests or events that you know that you want to speak at, but like we're just waiting to see when their applications come out, or past clients that you want to stay top of mind of. There's so many ways to use that. And that was solely because I saw a gap in my own business and my own life and wanted to fill it and see if anybody else wanted the same. On the flip side of that, on the trend side, or the again, seeing what's happening out there, there's a another podcast I listened to, I think it's called My First Million. And they talk a lot about trends. For example, they called it like the silver tsunami, where there's people are living longer. And so there is a whole group of people who folks are not creating solutions for because everyone's so focused on Gen Z, even millennials a little bit of just trying to create different health products and cool products and whatever. And like this whole group of people is not being served and is being forgotten. And there's going to be a lot of them. And so that's an interesting trend to look at because it's okay, what are they going to need? What are the things that are going to help them enjoy their life in retirement more or different things? And so no one is thinking about that. They're thinking about, again, okay, what's going to be cool on the gram? And it's cool, but also, I guess, on a global or even just like country scale, I live in the United States, like what is going on and how is that going to affect opportunities that I could jump into of, okay, my husband and I we're remodeling a house and we really want to create this like directory where it's just retired like contractors or plumbers or carpenters or all that sort of stuff. We just want to call them for an hour to just get a perspective. And they have that in like the business world, they have that in like other worlds, like specifically like home remodels. Because every time I go into Home Depot, I want Harold. I want Bill. Okay. Those are the people that I want because they have experience. And I walk into Home Depot and no offense, but I have a 22-year-old trying to tell me what nail to use. And not to say that they wouldn't know the answer,
Mhm.
but you used to walk in and have people who had rich experiences. And again, they get forgotten, right? They get forgotten because, again, it's not the shiny situation. And so my husband and I are wanting to create a directory of people who are so experienced and imagine them being able to finally share that experience from the comfort of their own home or golf course or wherever they want to be in retirement and have that impact, right? So I share those two examples because one is very much like me oriented and the other is like based on macroeconomically what's happening. And both I feel like are innovative because again, if your need isn't being fulfilled, there's probably a likelihood that other people similar to you have that need as well. And then similarly, what's going on in the world can really give you a perspective of what's going to be needed and then how can you beat that so that when that need hits, you're the go-to, right? You're the category of one, so to speak.
Mm. When you get ideas for tech solutions,
Mhm.
what steps do you take? Because I think that would be really intimidating to a lot of people who have never done something like that. And for some of us, I don't find myself overly intimidated by tech. I can't say I'm never. There are
Yeah.
things that I know are outside of my depth, but I also am like, I like tech enough that I am like an sometimes almost unhealthy DIYer. I was building websites with code, writing code in
Mhm.
Notepad at 10. So I learned
Mm.
in, or maybe 11, I learned in fifth grade, which is actually wild to think that teacher was so ahead of her time teaching us in web club after school. Shout out to Mrs. P. And
Awesome.
she had fifth graders and we literally had this huge printout of paper that explained like how HTML works. And then eventually we got into CSS and we like wrote the
Gosh.
code on papers because we did not have computer. Like we had to go to the computer lab. We had to reserve time in a computer lab right at that time. So we
Yes.
then occasionally would get a chance to go type up the code we had written out and then get to see what it would look like, even if you didn't have internet access. So then I started building
Oh my
websites
gosh.
from home using that kind of knowledge. And I literally did it on a computer that did not have internet access, saved it to a floppy disk, and then would take it to an internet computer with internet access to upload it. I say this to paint a picture that this was Sarah at
Right.
11. Okay. I am so geeking out interested in all of I want to create all the tech solutions. Like I can think of ideas, I can come up with ideas, but there are things that are
Yeah.
just outside of my depth that I know I probably could learn it, but it's also not serving me to spend time learning how to do XYZ. So I'm assuming that you don't do all of the actual tech build outs. So what
I
do
do
you
not.
do when you come up with, okay, here's a problem. I can imagine what a possible solution could possibly look like, but I have no idea how to build that. Then what do you do? Step one.
I
What do
mean,
you
yes, yes. For all of you who are like, I don't know any code and don't have the vastness of experience that Sarah just explained, I am not a coder either. I do not know development. I know enough, like, to understand some things, but I've never built anything like code wise. So to give you listeners like a picture of just, again, I'm systems automation, so I understand like how APIs work, webhooks, like that sort of stuff. And that's where I understand my development side, but I don't know necessarily just general code. And so I actually use Upwork for finding developers. And depending on what my solution calls for, I will ask for different things. For example, listen, like I worked with somebody who already had worked with Meta's API before. I was not going to choose somebody who had not done that. And so that was really important. And then for another one of mine, I wanted somebody who had worked with calendar management because I'm creating like a group calendar management tool. So there's specialties in development, just like there are in other things. And you may not need to know what code is being built, but there are, and especially now, there's like a whole no code community where, again, you can build things to where, again, you get a really solid MVP, get some people in there, and then you can iterate from there and say, oh, okay, actually, we need to move this here, move that there. And what's one of my favorite things about like development and just even honestly UI design, which is user interface, so what in the apps and the websites, what I love about it is like so much of it is not guesswork. Like you want to not make your app completely different than all the other apps and websites people are already making out there.
Mm-hmm.
And like when you think about, okay, when I log into whatever and I want to edit something, I generally want to see a little square with a pencil coming out from the right hand side because that's the edit button across majority of apps and websites out there. So there's some of that stuff where it's standardized for you if you ideally want it to be that way. And so you're really just having to think through, if I say, okay, hey, I want to create lists for Instagram, that's what I literally say. I don't say, hey, I need you to do all this code stuff. It's you can talk in layman's terms. Exactly. It's like you can share from a very human perspective, and then they're able to fill in those gaps. And there's actually some really interesting AI that you probably would enjoy knowing, Sarah, but probably don't want you to go off the rabbit hole here. But there's an AI called Replit. I don't know if you've heard of it, Replit. And literally it will code things for you. Like it is.
That's dangerous.
Listen, I have spent many an hour, and it's so interesting because you'll type, oh, I want to create a menu creator bot or something where I put in what's in my fridge and the app spits out recipes. Like you can build that on Replit. And I actually heard a podcast episode where two guys, while they were on the podcast episode, were creating the bot. And within 30 minutes, they had a bot created by Replit for like macros or something. And I was like,
wow.
So if you like think that this is super far away, it's not. And what they were talking about is this idea of like personalized tools. Like people are going to start, again, I created my own problem or created my own solution to my own problem. People are going to start doing that for themselves, right? I also have celiac disease. So how do I take this recipe that I found and make it so it is gluten-free for me? I could create that bot for myself and not monetize it or do anything with it, but it's just my bot for the problem that I need solved.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a whole world of that going on, and it's just going to become more and more relevant to people, especially in business, as people are going to be drawn to those things. So it's really exciting.
Very interesting. I'm trying to put myself in the headspace of the person listening who might be thinking, this feels totally overwhelming and I can't do it. Like I can't do this. This sounds cool for you guys, but I can't do this. And I'm thrilled for you that it's exciting for you, but it doesn't feel exciting for me. It feels overwhelming. And I guess that means I can't be innovative and I should probably just quit. And I feel bad about myself in this moment. I can't keep up with what you guys are talking about. I don't know what some of these words mean. I don't know what a webhook is or what API is, or I don't want to engage with Replit and generate a bot. I even know what those, I don't know. And so I guess then does that mean this is just not for me? I just want someone to tell me that it's possible to build a business that could be successful so that I can take away some of the financial pain and burden that my family is feeling. So, what can
Yes,
we tell the person who's feeling that right now?
totally. This is my nerdy side, right? And everybody has a different nerdy side. And whatever is something that, like, again, you could just riff off of, like I am, there's probably something there, not from a bot tech side, but just there's probably something there that, again, is going to be infectious and is going to draw people in. Because I found that too, when you're not excited about something, people can tell. And so if you're feeling like you're in molasses with your business or things are just feeling hard, it may be hard. And it also may be that you need to just reposition, which in my mind is another form of innovation. You need to reposition how you're bringing it out there into the world. And again, this doesn't have to be some brand new product or offer or tech solution. It could potentially be, okay, I am a sales page copywriter. That's what I love to do. I can nerd out on it all day, but I'm feeling like I'm in molasses. So you could say, okay, what do most people think of when they think of sales pages? They think of 20 pages long of like copy that needs to be written and it's going to take forever and it's going to be this whole thing. What if you try to, again, innovate by saying, I create choose your own adventure sales pages. Now, this is something that I actually did using Google Docs. Designers don't come for me, but I created a 5 Google Doc sales page that was choose your own adventure and people loved it. And it sold out 100 beta spots for something that I did, a collaboration membership in 6 days. And so it's a sales page and people love choose your own adventure books. At least I do. And I put them together. So a lot of times it's two things that may not have previously gone together or you haven't seen go together, but two things that you love that you can put together, and that's innovation. So it could be a sales page that then you say, I actually create sales pages that was something that traditionally sales you don't see with sales pages. You could create, I don't know, some sort of personalized sales page where when somebody comes to the page, they see their name on there, which can be done. It shows their name or it shows something about them because they clicked a specific link from an email. And because they clicked that link, the sales page looks one way. And then they click another link and the sales page looks a different way. And so it's these kind of like multi-dimensional sales pages that, again, you can create, readjust some copy and allows for them to convert more with that sales page copy. So maybe they're shorter pages, but there's 3 or 4 of them based on the personality type that you're clicking the link of, or whatever the case is, or industry. So that's a way that has nothing really to do with tech. It's just, I'm going to write you 4 mini sales pages based on Myers-Briggs or based on the disc profile. And then you can set that up with your web designer and have a really amazing converting sales page because you're speaking to the 4 different personality types. That's how you can innovate. So again, it doesn't have to be a tech solution. It can be 2 things that, again, you're obsessed with that can come together and create a really interesting and intriguing and curiosity invoking solution to still the problem of I need my sales page copy, right?
Yeah. And I'm thinking too, also, you could be creative in the delivery of the service. And that's something that I think I've seen some people do. And honestly, the whole idea of template shops that you mentioned earlier, that's where that kind of even started, right? And frankly, online courses, memberships, originally these were innovative ideas of I could deliver this solution, this whatever it is that you do, I can deliver this differently. I can deliver this in a way that's going to resonate with certain types of people who I've seen a lot more discussion recently about people niching down to I specifically serve neurodivergent entrepreneurs or neurodivergent people. And where I'm going with that is it's a recognition that the service that you offer is the same service, it's the same solution. You're a copywriter, right? Going with the same example,
Yeah.
you're a copywriter who writes sales pages. I write sales pages, but I'm noticing that the clients who are struggling with the service providers available to them are neurodivergent in XYZ way. And the reason why they're struggling with working successfully with a traditional sales page copywriter is ABC. And so I can deliver my services differently so that I can specifically serve like this underserved population with my particular solution. And I think that thinking about the way you deliver your services is a huge opportunity for getting creative. And I want to say, I think that all of us have that feeling periodically in business where we're just fucking tired. Like, I'm just tired. And if someone could just tell me how to do it so that I could just follow their instructions, that would just be great because then I'm good at following instructions. I can just follow instructions and make money, and then it will just get better and it will just get easier. And I just need something to be easier right now. And especially for those of us in the US, it's an election year. At the time we're recording this, it is officially October. Today that we're recording this is literally the day of the vice presidential debate. Like, it's exhausting. Right. You know what? Life feels like really hard sometimes, let alone all of the other shit that you're going through personally, because I was at an event this weekend, and one of the things they said is, look around this room. Every single person in here is going through stuff, right? Like, everybody's carrying stuff. So sometimes we just need something to feel easy. And I get it, right? I get it. And I understand why you are going to have seasons of your business where you just want to dot your I's and cross your T's and just keep going and feel like you can just continue with the status quo. And I think one of the things that you said, Jordan, before we hit record is that when we talk about big, brave business, that's not big and brave. That's just business. Right. And that's okay. Like, you actually really emphasize all over your messaging that business needs to fit in with your season of life. It needs to go with where you are in life. And if there are seasons where you are not big and brave, that is okay. At the same time, what we're talking about here on the Big Brave Business Podcast is what being big and brave in business looks like, and having big, brave conversations about business. And I think that means talking about innovation and what innovation can look like and how to be innovative and how to get creative with all the different aspects of your business. How do you hire? How does your website function? How do you make your offers? How do you collect payments? How do you engage with your customers or clients or members or students or whatever you call them, your community, on an ongoing basis? What does your messaging look like? How are you using social media? How are you showing up on, even with things like, okay, do video. How are you doing your videos? Be creative, come up with something creative, come up with something different. It is exhausting. And maybe I keep on emphasizing this because I feel tired, but I know if I feel tired, then there is someone listening who's, I just feel tired. Yeah, innovation is not going to be easy, and it's not going to be painless, and it's not going to be necessarily something that you're doing while you're healing, right? It's something that is when you're feeling big and brave, when you're ready to light the torch and lead the way into an unexplored cavern. That's what an innovation season is going to look like. And so I guess then the kind of last big thing that I really want to dig into about this for the sake of time is why does it matter? Why is it important to be innovative?
Yeah.
When you have the capacity for it, why is it important?
I think that if you have chosen entrepreneurship, or you feel like this is all you can do, because I feel like I am unemployable at this point for many reasons, then it is a part of the entrepreneurial DNA to want to be a solution for others, whether that is through your writing, through your design, through your tech, through your coaching. We are inherently people who like to solve problems. And while problems may not change in the sense of, again, they aren't necessarily different problems, they may need different solutions for one reason or another. And that's where the entrepreneurial journey takes us all is, okay, people just needed sales pages. Now there's a bunch of people who can write sales pages for you. So now it's still all of us solving the same problem, but how do I solve it differently than everybody else? Or how can I service a particular industry or a particular group of folks? There's something about entrepreneurship that just, I think inherently in all of us is drawn to solving problems, right? And so innovation just helps us to solve those new problems, like those problems that, again, are always there. There's people who need sales pages, there's people who need business coaching, there's people who need marriage coaching, whatever. But the positioning and messaging and direction shifts all the time. That is where I think we need to understand that innovation is a part of entrepreneurship. It's really hard if you just want to do this one thing and never change anything about it for the entirety of your business. I don't know that can be done. That's my personal take, whatever. But I think that while you can stay in the same lane, so to speak, or direction, you may change. If you're in the same, going the same direction, you can switch lanes essentially in that direction and be totally fine. But there's going to be points, there's going to be macroeconomic stuff like election years affecting everybody. There's going to be different things that are going to affect your business. And if you think that you can just stay the same for years and decades, from a business perspective, that's really tough because you even see the Targets and the Amazons and the big businesses shifting all the time. And yes, they're big, but that also just is going to show that they can't stay stagnant, right? People who have been in business for a long time, they have to pivot. And so I want innovation to just be a part of the entrepreneurial journey, or people to recognize that it's part of the entrepreneurial journey for everybody. And so it matters because people still have problems they need solved, whether the economy is bad, whether health changes, needing to be a caregiver, you've got chronic illnesses like me, like problems still need to be solved regardless of what is happening in the world. And it would be a disservice to think, oh, I'm just going to throw in the towel when it's just, again, those slight pivots that could really drive innovation in a way that is supportive to you and to the community that you want to serve. It matters because people still have problems that need to be solved. And entrepreneurs are the way those problems get solved, in my opinion.
I totally agree with you. And I lied. I have one more question about this because I think people's brains work really well with like lists and steps. And so I'm curious, what are just a couple of suggestions you have? And then I'll try to think of some too for
Yeah.
how people can be more innovative or pursue innovation.
Yes, this is a great question. And I have some more questions you can ask yourself and just journal about or white post it or on an iPad, doesn't matter. I'll start with some really simple ones where it's okay, what if I kept doing what I was doing, but I made it bigger? And then what if I kept doing what I was doing and I made it smaller? Because you think about like the candy aisle, for example. Colin, my bonus son, Colin and I were in the grocery aisle and I see king size Kit Kat, regular Kit Kat, and these like Kit Kat little ball things in a package. It's the same candy, but it's micro and then there's big and it's just the same thing. You can do that in your own services as well or products or offering. So big and
I
small. Those are
love
like the
this. Okay.
I've got. So big and small, play with that. Another way that you can think of innovation, another question to ask yourself is, okay, how can I do something again slower or faster? Because there's groups of people who want either one of those as well. So, okay, if I take my service and instead of doing it in a month, how can I do it in a day? Okay, if I take what I'm doing in a month and I put it over a year. There's some people who, again, you think about professional organizing as an example. Sometimes it could take, I don't know, a month to organize a room. What if you had to teach somebody how to organize a room in a day? What if you teach people how to organize the room over 60 days? There are some people who would want to do that because, again, it's overwhelming for them for whatever reason. Big, small, fast, slow. And then, again, a kind of, I guess, bigger question is with the expertise and the skills that I have, what's a way that I can either hit a bigger market, right? So maybe you did start very niche and want to go broader. Or again, how can I actually, what's called going vertical is how can I go deeper with the people that I already am? So maybe I solved problems A, B, and C, but I want to go deeper and I want to solve D, E, and F. So those are some additional questions that can make you think innovatively just about what you're doing and the way that you work and who you work with and for that can start the innovation wheels turning for sure.
Yeah. Okay. My brain is like going a mile a minute off of that. I can't wait to journal on those questions. I think those prompts are fantastic. Thank you. Okay. I would love to have some really creative questions that I came up with on the fly to add to that. But I guess I would say area and it feeds into everything you were saying. But one area that I just think is like my go-to easiest way to be innovative is to ask how can you change your delivery, which again is going to be related to the questions you pose, but how can you change the delivery of the service or solution you're already offering, and bringing that back to your mission and your core values. Is there a way that your delivery could be tweaked to further serve the mission that you say you stand for, your company stands for, your organization stands for? How can you make that
Yeah.
even more true? And I'm going to use an example to explain because mine was not as poetically worded, but so if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, I've mentioned that I had started, essentially we called it a membership in the beginning. We changed our language to call it more like a digital subscription, but the point was we wanted to make a really low barrier to entry offer for people who are DIYing or working with other podcast managers and editors and producers who weren't getting the strategy support that they needed. Then they wanted that from Podfox. So we were offering like group and self-paced strategy support for people who weren't looking to hire us for production services. So we did that
Nice.
for a little bit over a year, and that felt innovative at the time. Here's a creative solution. And then we've now put that on pause. We're revamping it. And the way that we are going to be reintroducing it, and of course it's not out yet, although by the time this comes out it's possible it will be, but
Nice.
it's not out yet, so we're still fine tuning things. But the intention now is we're going to make it free, and that's really like the summary high level overview of what it is that we're doing. There's a lot more to it, of course, but we're going to make it free. And the reason why is because the mission of Podfox is to amplify underrepresented voices, and we believe that podcasting is a really powerful way to build your own platform and use your voice because your voice matters. And in order to serve that mission of helping amplify as many underrepresented voices as possible, we believe that the information about how to use your voice should be free, because using your voice should be a human right. And so making that more accessible to people. Now we can't offer production services for free. Like we have to get paid for our labor, but that aspect of it we are moving to be free to consume. So that is the new path forward for the audio revolution. We're literally calling it the audio revolution, right? That's the name of the subscription. So it's all about like, how do we revolutionize this? And I think interrogating your industry, your offer, your delivery, etc., of what is my mission. And if you don't have a mission for your brand or your company or your organization, by the way, maybe that's something to ideate on as well. And then that can help you like interrogate, how does this serve this? So I'm going to add that. And then the last like 2 cents that I want to give on my own about what I think you could do for innovation is listen to yourself more and other people less, because it gets so hard to know. And I've talked about this on this podcast before, but it gets so hard to know what you actually want to do and what's actually aligned with you and what's actually important to you. The more you listen to other people, it gets cloudy. It gets harder to listen to yourself, and it gets harder to listen to your gut instincts. And the reality is that your gut instincts are good and you deserve to be trusted. Like, you should trust that you have everything you need inside of you to come up with the idea portion. You might not be able to write the code, but you have everything you need inside of you to come up with the idea. And when you get drowned out, when your own voice and your own intuition gets drowned out from other people's advice, that's when it's lay off the coaching and go inside yourself, right? So I love that when I said give tips, yours were questions you could ask yourself, questions you could explore with yourself. And if you have a coach, you can explore those questions with your coach, right? Hopefully you have a good coach who's going to work with you to process your own ideas about those questions. But I love that your tips were in the form of questions. That's so cool. Okay,
Yeah.
so as always, all of both of our information is going to be in the show notes so you can stay connected with us and you can meet both of us in person at Jordan's event next year because I'm definitely going. I will make sure that happens. But in the meantime, I always like to end the episode with a fun question, which is what is something that is making you happy right now? And it can be work related or not, doesn't matter.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Something that's making me really happy right now is honestly when I see other people like truly showing up as themselves. And I think I've really leaned into this more and more because again, I show up online very much how I am in real life. I'm wearing my joggers, I'm wearing my on shoes, and probably some sweatshirt that has words on it. And that doesn't mean that I also only want to hang out with people that wear joggers and sweatpants, like all that stuff. But I really am starting to just appreciate the differences in people. And I'm drawn to people who, again, may be very different than me, who like love the cutesy pink dresses and the dressing up and all of that stuff. I may just be drawn to her because I'm like, clearly that is you and you
Right.
enjoy it the heck out of it. And I want to be around more people again, not necessarily who are just like me, but people who are like me in the sense of they're comfortable with how they are and how they show up and who they are, that then it's like bet, like I can jam with that. Even though what we like is different, we can both show up and appreciate each other for again our differences and similarities because we all have similarities. That's really what's making me happy right now. I feel like more people are leaning into who they are and there's less of the like everybody has a pink dress in front of the Eiffel Tower kind of vibes. Like there was like an era where that was like the picture, right?
Yeah.
And even if that is who you are, that's fine. But just I like that there's more variety, there's more diversity in just how people are showing up online. It makes me so happy and gleeful. And it just even the awkward ones, I'm like, I love it. I like love it. I can't get enough of it. Even if people feel awkward, I'm just like, yes, but you're showing up and it feels so cool. That's what's making me happy right now.
I love that. Yeah, I agree with you. I think we're seeing a lot more of that. And I've said this before too. I feel like that's a refrain on this episode, but that's what I'm liking about Threads because I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
Threads is really, and people called it unhinged, but what it became
Totally.
is that it was just a space where you could just be you. And the engagement is like insane because when you just show up as you and you have something to say, this really feeds back into like your voice matters and like you should use it. But
Yeah.
when you're just showing up as you and you are sharing your voice of what you do have to say and what you do have to contribute, people answer. And when you're on a platform that tends to, in the past at least, have been more aesthetically driven, show up a certain way in order to get reach, then if you don't show up that way, you don't get any reach, then we're all trying so hard to be a certain aesthetic to whatever, trick the algorithm or not be defeated by the algorithm or whatever, so that anybody will see what we have to post. But then you don't get any engagement because there's nothing to engage with because it's all just, for lack of a better word, like fake. It's inauthentic, right? And people have been shouting,
Mhm.
be authentic from the rooftops for years, but that's a whole other podcast conversation. What does that
All of
even
that.
mean?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you. I do think we're seeing more of people's actual personalities coming through and I guess that means also the algorithm is changing because we're seeing the posts of people who are just showing up as themselves instead of only seeing the same. It's interesting. So
Mhm.
something that's making me happy right now, and we just talked extensively about this, so hopefully I can keep it short, Sarah. But I just got back from an event. I have mentioned that I had been excited about speaking on a stage at an event. And at the time that we're recording this, that event just happened like literally days ago. So I've done a lot of public speaking in my life, in my career, but not with Podfox other than online
Mhm.
because I started this company right before the pandemic. I've done a lot of virtual speaking for sure. And of course, a lot of podcasting, but not a lot of in person speaking in front of groups and especially on a stage at a conference since I started this company and I just loved it. And what's so funny, and I shared this with Jordan before I hit record, it's related to what you said, except for it's going inside. I What I'm proudest of, although I loved speaking and I would love to do more, yes, please. Yeah, thank you, universe, more, please.
Right.
As much as I do want to do more of that, the thing that felt the best and the most thrilling and the most fulfilling and gratifying and empowering is actually how much I showed up as myself, put myself
Mhm.
out there, and said yes to things. And when I say showed up as myself, I'm going to caveat that and say, like, the best version of myself slash the version of myself I most want to be. I
Yeah.
have a tendency, and I think we all do, of pursuing the comfort zone, the safety, and when I showed up to this event, it was a lot of people who were local, which I was not. I flew in, and it was a lot of people who came with a friend or a couple of friends. So I felt, and I'm sure it wasn't true, but I felt like the only person in the room who didn't know anyone.
Mm.
And it would have been easy to just stay inside my own bubble, to sit by myself, to take notes, clap and cheer along with the group, but like really be having my own solo experience. And instead, I made friends. I was social. I went out to lunches and dinners and made some very real connections, but and had some really cool experiences by saying yes and putting myself out there. And honestly, the speaking ended up being like one of the least brave things I did about the entire trip. And that might sound crazy to some people. I wasn't even nervous to get on stage because the other things I was doing to like exercise being big and
Yeah.
brave were had me so primed that
Right.
it just felt comfortable to go walk up and just own the space that I was taking up. So, anyways, I loved it. It was BU Brand Live in Las Vegas. I will definitely be going again next year. I had a very great time and I highly recommend it. So, that's two events to put on your calendar for next year. We're going to go to Jordan's event, which do you have
Yeah,
dates?
yeah, Secret Showcase Live. Yep, is what it's called. And yeah, we're still in ticket sales and all that stuff. We're pulling it back and doing some branding and stuff, but we'll at least have a waitlist link in the show notes depending on when this goes out because we're like rebuilding the actual website and all that.
Yeah, cool. So you have got to go there. And then you've also got to put BU Brand Live on your calendar as well. So I'll put as much information as I have in the show notes of the episode. Obviously, 2025 schedules seems really far out. It really isn't, but it seems really far out. And I'm feeling so inspired having attended. I'm thinking like there's definitely a Big Brave Business Live in the future. By the way, just fun fact, Amanda and I actually got bigbravebusinesslive.com, the domain, at the same time as we got bigbravebusiness.com. We knew from the inception that there was going to be a Big Brave Business Live, but I'm thinking 2026. So that's my new
Yeah.
goal or one of them.
Yeah.
Setting goals. So we're projecting that. Yeah. If that sounds interesting to you, I'd love to hear that is something you want. Please. Yes, please. Tell me you want it. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Jordan. I loved chatting with you today, both before recording and during the recording.
Same here. Loved it, Sarah. And thanks y'all for listening.